Hey there, good afternoon everyone. Thanks for tuning in with On the Pulse with Silky, and I've got some interesting stuff again for you guys today, and of course the Blue Lagoon soap opera. I have more statements from people that were there at the Blue Lagoon and how everything went, and also interesting news about Google, what's happening with the Blue Lagoon there, so stay tuned. So I want to give you an overview about what's happening with the eruption. First, the Met Office has released a few data that are new, and yeah, the eruption is still going, so it hasn't really died down all over a sudden like some predicted. So it's still rumbling, there's still magma coming out. When I look at the live cams, I feel it looks like as if it was a little less than yesterday, but not like that you look at it and you're like, wow, this has died down from yesterday. And so the Met Office has released an update today, and basically what they're saying is that the eruption activity is stable and is still active in the fissure, and most active at the southern end of the fissure. And then also they're saying that the GPS measurements that they have done on March 18th show that maybe the land rise is not happening anymore, that the land might be subsiding, but they're not 100% sure. They have also released an updated hazard assessment. I'll show you the map shortly. Regarding the gas pollution, yes, gas pollution could be noticed in Reykjavik, nearby municipalities in Grindavik and in Swartsengi. They have also released a gas distribution forecast, but you know, let's not get into this too much at the moment. Yeah, the activity of the eruption still seems to be quite stable, and that is really, really interesting because this is different from the other eruptions that we've had there in December, January, and February. They have died down much more quickly. So the vents are still active in the same places as yesterday. So that hasn't changed. It seems no vents have been closed, and yesterday that was about 7 to 8 active vents. And the lava flows from the craters. There's craters forming around these vents because the lava is flowing down there, making it more look like a volcano craters. And from there, the lava is flowing to the south, but it is flowing on top of the lava that has already flowed. So basically lifting up that carpet, I call it carpet of lava that has been spreading out. So basically, because of that, the lava building up on top of each other, basically there is little or no movement that has been observed on the lava edges near the road that is close to the sea, Grindavik, and also the same effect is happening at swartsengi. It has flown over the road there, over Grindavik, but it doesn't seem to move further towards the area where the pipelines and electricity lines and everything is, and that's a good thing. And also the seismic activity is still being minor. So since this eruption has begun last Saturday at 8:23 p.m. Icelandic time, the seismic activity is very, very low. The weather forecast says it's going to be a southeasterly wind with 13 to 20 meters per second in the afternoon, and the gas pollution is now reaching the northwestern area, and it could be felt in Reykjavik and in nearby localities and in Swartsengi, and it has been bad in Swartsengi. That's why the power plant had to be evacuated already for a short period of time. The gas pollution, of course, was noticed near the volcanic centers such as Swartsengi and Grindavik, and then on the 20th later tonight it was turning in the northern direction, and then it would reach down south to Grindavik. And what they're predicting for Thursday is that there will be northwest and western winds at about 8 to 15 kilometers per hour, and then they're estimating that the gas pollution will be carried to the east and southeast, and it could probably affect the south, such as in Thorlakshofen, or even on the islands there, Vestmannaeyjar. They are saying that, and I'm saying that because many of you has asked me, what's the extent of the pollution? So what they have measured on March 17th is from the eruption. It was measured 50 kilograms per second of SO2. And they are also saying that preliminary results from new measurements show that the gas emission has decreased significantly since then. And that's good. They released it, and I show you the map again that shows the land rise where they did measurements, satellite measurements. They are saying that there are clear signs that the land was rising in Swartsengi between March 17th and March 18th. That's the red areas. And then they're saying that the GPS measurements from March 18th show that maybe that it is not rising anymore, that it's decreasing. It might even subsiding, but it could be because now the magma flows out at the to the surface at the Sutnuka crater series, and that's why it doesn't accumulate so much under Swartsengi anymore. So this needs to be observed a little further. These are preliminary data. They're not 100% sure. So that's why they're saying the development of the eruption and the deformation measurements in the coming days that they will conduct, they will then reveal whether there is a balance reached between the inflow of magma to the magma chamber underneath Swartsengi, where the power plant and the Blue Lagoon are located, and the flow of the lava on the surface that's coming out at the Sutnuka crater series. So we will have to wait a little while longer until we can see more data there. And also they had some experts and some scientists taking some aerial photography over the eruption site. And I want to show you this image here. And from that images, they said they're estimating the size of the lava flow and also the average lava flow from the eruption, and they will process the data now and they will release them soon. They also had some scientists, when the wind was favorable, they really went to the tongue of the lava and they were putting measuring sticks sort of thing into the ground to really see, will the lava pass these sticks, and to really get a good picture of it, how much the lava is still moving forward, or is it still moving forward. If it is, it's very, very slow. So still right now it might not cross the road and flow into the sea. It's still a bit away from that area. So if you look at that picture, you see in the background the sea, and there you see Grindavik, and then where there's the smoke, to the right of the smoke, there is the Swartsengi area where the Blue Lagoon and the power plant are located. And so you see the eruption, you see, because there's a lot of lava basically behind the smoke. So that's the northern areas. There's not much going on. But the southern tip of that fissure is still producing lava, but you see a lot of lava did flow in other directions as well. But yeah, you see how far it reached Grindavik, and then you can really see that it was diverted around Grindavik by the defense walls that seem to work really, really well. And that's a success, because this is the first time that they've been doing something like this, and it's a try and error sort of thing. And of course, they're very happy that it has turned out to work that good, right? Let's have a look at the updated hazard assessment. They have lowered the hazard level in the Swartsengi area. So the new risk assessment took effect today on Wednesday, March 20th, and it will remain in effect until March 22nd if there are no changes occurring in the eruption or what's going on. So the area 3, that's the deep purple area where the eruption is still ongoing, the risk remains unchanged there, and the risk is considered very high there for an eruption and obviously a lava flow, right? The risk in area 1, Swartsengi, is now estimated to be considerable, but it was previously estimated to be high. So they don't think that too much lava will flow there in this what's going on with as the current eruption is happening. So that's why they have lowered the hazard level there. And then we have the area 4, that's the red square, that's Grindavik, and this is still considered high, as the risk of falling into a fissure, you know, they have its own hazard level, which is named crack collapse, and the risk of falling into a crack, a fissure, a sudden sinkhole is very, very high, but also fissure movements. We have seen that during these events, or even after, the fissures keep widening, they keep getting deeper, they keep getting longer, new sinkholes formed, even cracks that have been filled all of a sudden opened again. You know, it was weeks ago, there was a plumber who wanted to check the heating system in one of the empty houses, and he drove on the parking lot in front of the garage of the house, and it seems that then a filled-in crack all of a sudden opened a crack again, and he opened the door of his van and wanted to get out, and just barely, and he saw that there was this rift right there. So he then quickly backed up and out of that, but he could have fallen in there, and that's why the risk is still high. And also there is the risk of lava flow, right? Because yeah, the defense walls are there, but you know, you never know, are they holding? But also in area 3, that's the Sutnuka crater series, they're saying that the risk due to gas pollution is also considered very high there. I mean, that makes sense because that's where we have the eruption and most of the lava that's there. So it makes sense that the risk for gas pollution is still very high in that area. But in all other areas, the risk of gas pollution is now assessed to be considerable, and it previously was high. So they have lowered it one step. And this change is because there's less gas emission from the eruption than at the beginning of the eruption. And the risk of gas pollution and also like pyrotechnics is also assessed based on the weather and distribution forecast for the next few days, which of course affects the spread. So this can be changed if the forecast changes again. So that is what they are saying. And I want to talk to you now about the Blue Lagoon. And first, let's start with the interest in the Blue Lagoon. And you know, you can look that up. What are people Googling the most, and in which country are they Googling what? And if you look at what has been Googled in the US, for example, and if you go to Google Trends, you can see Blue Lagoon Iceland. How often was that searched for and when? And if you look at that graphs, you see some spikes, and there were some little spikes on March 18th, but basically the last few days the spikes were higher, in some areas like 200 times higher than normal. So people were looking what's going on at the Blue Lagoon, and that was from the US, people in the US. And there's a lot of tourists from the US coming to Iceland wanting to go to the Blue Lagoon. And there has been a report from some people in North Carolina. They went there with their family and they were just having dinner in a restaurant, and they're describing it. They were sitting in the restaurant, and then all of a sudden they looked out of the window and they saw the red thing coming up, right? They saw the eruption coming up. They were inside the Blue Lagoon, and they were basically thinking, well, this can't be happening right now. What? Right? They're describing that the employees were very calm. I mean, yeah, you know, how many evacuations? 6, or was that the 7th emergency evacuation? Because they always drag it out to the last minute, right? Even if you know that this is my thing that I have a problem with the Blue Lagoon. If we know the magma chamber is more than full and that it has reached a level where the next event can be triggered pretty surely, they're not closing ahead of that. They're waiting until the eruption happens. And you know, 700 to 800 people in the Blue Lagoon, let that eruption and with that fast lava flow happen a little closer to the Blue Lagoon, and scientists do not rule out that it can happen underneath the Blue Lagoon. They think that would give more warning time, but you know, if you cannot say that 100% sure that this is not happening, if there's just a little bit of a doubt, you know, is it so necessary that people need to swim in? This is not a life necessary operation that they have going on there, right? This is just, you know, people are safer going to one of the other beautiful lagoons and spas that are there in Iceland, the Sky Lagoon and other places, right? You don't have to risk it just to drag it out to the last minute to rake in every buck. That's my opinion, guys. And, you know, I have said, and there we have news again that kind of confirm that there is not much information on the Blue Lagoon website. I have always criticized, they were having this little banner, all facilities are open, press here or read more, which nobody really does if you want to book your stay. Well, if it's open, that's all I need to know. And then when you do the booking, they're not telling you anything about what's going on. And if you press this in the past, they were mentioning, well, it's an area that's prone to earthquakes, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't mention the eruption. I was complaining about this all the time. Now, they have mentioned that there might be an eruption, right? But that's why a lot of people have told me, and my viewers have told me, that they didn't really know. They didn't know, and they weren't told at the time of booking. And they were surprised when they arrived at the Blue Lagoon that someone was mentioning, well, you could be evacuated. And I want to tell you one story of one of my viewers, because that is really basically confirming what I'm complaining about all the time. So I'll read this to you and I'll read my answer. So the user keeps saying, hey, by the way, I'm not saying your name. I don't know if you want that published or not. That's why. So he says, my wife and I, we were at the Blue Lagoon last Thursday on the 14th. After watching your video Wednesday night, I did not want to go, but my wife did so. And so we went. You know, it's always the wives. If they say, they make the decisions, right, guys? We know that. Happy wife, happy life. Or if you guys think you're making the decision, you know what we women do. We just twist in a way that we let you come to the right conclusion, to the right decision. So you think you made that decision, but we kind of planted that in you. But yeah, the little secret. So the wife wanted to go, and of course they did, right? So then he said, I asked a staff member after they sent us towards changing rooms, what is the evacuation procedure? And the staff, he laughed at my wife and he said, just run. I mean, great. But, you know, basically this, when we see the Walk With Me Tim video, and it's basically the staff is standing there at the front desk and says, yeah, go out to the parking lot, take the road towards Reykjavik, sort of thing. It didn't really look like a guided thing, just go to your car and leave. There were some buses, but don't think there were special evacuation buses. There were buses that people came in, so they need to go out with the buses. So then I asked the question to him. I said, wow, so they did not give you a map that would show you evacuation routes, both out of the lagoon, out of the buildings, but also how you would, which road to take by car? Were there any signs in the lagoon that showed evacuation route? You know, on the West Coast, for example, there's everywhere you go on the beaches, there's these signs, tsunami evacuation route, right? And then it's an interesting answer, because he says not a mention of it. And that that is what I am criticizing, and that's why people are asking me, are you obsessed with the Blue Lagoon? No, I'm not obsessed with the Blue Lagoon. I could care less, but I care about the tourists that go there and are not informed enough. And that's why I keep reporting about this. And he then says, and that's interesting, a bus driver on the Reykjavik excursions said to me on Wednesday on our Golden Glacier trip that the Blue Lagoon should not be open. And I've heard that from several people that live in Iceland, that it should not be open. And I thought he was joking, but no, he was serious. That's what my viewer says. So then the viewer says, so I Googled it when I went to the hotel on Wednesday night, and then I saw your videos. And so I learned that the magma chamber underneath the swartsengi is full. And he said, I'm not well versed in volcanoes, but that cannot be good. So that tells us they were not aware of all the stuff that has been going on the last few months. And how would you? You guys from all over the world, I hear from Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, even in the US, you keep telling me, in the UK as well, in Europe, the news in your countries do not report much about this. So it's not, people are not aware. And there's tourists from China, Japan, whatever. And I mean, this is vacation for people. And you know, Iceland, you're not trying to become a volcanologist before you go there. You trust the information that's there. And if you look at the Blue Lagoon website, it looks all fine. All they're talking about is these incredible spa events with that little tiny banner. All facilities are open, read more. I mean, of course, right now it says they're closed, but you know, this will change soon, I promise you. So the user further says, Thursday morning at the Reykjavik excursions, at a bus depot, I asked the lady there, is the lagoon open and what is the evacuation plan? And she said, no activity in a month or so and all is fine. We have alarms, etc. and evacuation procedures. So no events in a month or so. Yeah, no eruption, but there was an event on March 2nd, a little tiny intrusion, and they were expecting an eruption or something in the next days. And basically that has dragged out to 2 weeks, right? So something was very, very imminent. So, but this tells you, and I mean, these people have no reason to lie. So I fully believe what my viewers are telling me, because these reports are not a single isolated report. This is coming from several people, and then I'll still have the link in my description, the link of that one handy shot, the evacuation video, how scared the people were that had to go through this. And also, another one of my viewer reported that her grandson was scheduled to go to the Blue Lagoon with a school, and they had made a booking with kids, a school class. And the Blue Lagoon did not warn them, did not tell them, hey, with the kids, be careful, there's this going on, make an informed decision if you really want to go. Nope, nothing. So she was very, very lucky and happy that the school was so smart to not go to the Blue Lagoon and cancel the trip and go to Sky Lagoon instead, because had they gone there, it would have caught them, right? Do you have to put kids through an emergency evacuation where behind you is the sky turns dark red and clouds and alarms and sirens? This can be traumatizing. Sirens and running and fleeing and the feeling that you're running for your life, even if the lava hasn't reached that area yet, it's scary. And this time the lava did flow towards the Swartsengi area way faster. And one of my viewers, her son was in there. He was in the pool when the eruption started. And he was basically running out there, just leaving his swimwear there, didn't have time to put on his underwear, just threw a jacket and ran. So this is not Even if the employees are calm, well, they've been through this. What else can they do? They're not panicking anymore. It's the 7th or 6th time that they're doing this. And that's why I keep criticizing how this is going. Iceland needs to get another stream of revenue, not only the tourists. They need to change their system, in my opinion, or divert the tourists. I know the Blue Lagoon is a big part of their GDP, I think 8 to 10%, but there's big funds and investors involved as well. Well, find another way, divert them to the other beautiful places, and then maybe share that revenue with the Blue Lagoon, whatever. But, you know, don't carry this out on the backs of the innocent tourists that go there. That is my opinion, guys, and that was my update. There's another update coming shortly, but I wanted to let you know about this. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for the coffees that you keep buying me on my site there. Thanks for your supers, and just thanks for being here, for watching, guys, from all over the world. This is so cool. When I read the comments and you write me where you're from, this is just amazing. The #1 countries, I always look at the statistics. #1 is US, so you guys are watching, and #2 is the UK. And then all other countries, so many countries, South America, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Europe. It's amazing. So I really, really enjoy that. And oh, of course, Canada, right? I forgot my place. So it's amazing. Guys, thank you for that. I'm out of here. And yeah, what can I say? See you very, very soon, guys. And leave this video a like. Bye.